Yes, Supriya. Time now.
So, yes. Good afternoon and good morning, all, especially to the viewers who are joining us from Europe. A warm welcome to today's webinar on importance of building credibility and trust, shaping growth of food new normal. Before we begin, some basic webinar hygiene, which is shown on the screen. Kindly mute your mic when you're not speaking, turn off your video, and ask question using chat box. So let me introduce today's moderator to you. He's Mr. Ramesh Agarwal. He's the co-founder and COO of Food Safety Works, a premier food safety consulting company. Over to you, Mr. Ramesh. Welcome.
Thank you, Supriya. Great to be here. Good afternoon, everyone, and good morning to people in Europe. I think the topic for today's webinar is very, very pertinent to the current times. And I'm glad that I'm here on the invitation of Lindstrom. So before I start, I'd just like to introduce Lindstrom. So Lindstrom is India's leading organized workwear rental company. It is a subsidiary of the 172-year-old Finnish business group Lindstrom. In the last 12 years, Lindstrom India has established 12 business segments, including food industry. So they are pretty much integral part of the food business, and they take care of end-to-end workwear management, which basically means if you're running your factory and you need workwear, so they will take care of your requirements. And the core focus of Lindstrom business is to improve personal hygiene and safety management systems in a sustainable manner. To introduce myself, so like Supriya said, I run a premier food safety consulting company called Food Safety Works, and we are in the business of helping food business operators set up systems and processes to ensure that the product that the consumers get lives up to the promise of safety and quality. And this is a key to ingredient to building a trusted brand. I will be here to take you through the next hour and 15 minutes roughly. Just to kind of give you the essence of the topic, in the July report by Economic Times, Licious, which is one of the new companies around, mentioned that they have been seen a more than 300% jump in their sales of ready-to-eat meat products, right? And then we were talking to them, their head of quality, in a webinar that we did as recently as Wednesday, and where he talked about how meticulously they take care of their quality and safety aspects of food. This was one that I wanted to highlight because I happened to talk to him, but I'm sure there are multiple instances of this, and today we have an illustrious panel, everybody who understands this business of trust and food. So to start with, I'd like to welcome Benz Thomas. Benz Thomas leads BRCGS in the Southeast Asia and Pacific region. As a company, they implement the BRC, as a company, we implement BRC standard at food companies. And we can say that BRCGS is quite an elaborate and a market-leading global standard. And before BRCGS, Mr. Benz led the foods division of SGS India Private Limited, an Indian arm of the Swiss MNC. He has a postgraduate in international business from IIFT, postgraduate diploma in advertising, PR for Indian Institute of Mass Communication. So a lot of experience, a lot of learning in this space. So we look forward to having you speak. Welcome, Mr. Benz. Next, we have Mr. Tapomay Saha, who is the head of corporate quality assurance for Dabur India Limited. He's the India and the South head. He's, of course, a food technologist from CFTRI with 25 years of diverse experience in manufacturing, quality, and general management. He brings in a lot of rich knowledge from highly reputed brands like Frito-Lay's, Coca-Cola, Kraft Foods, Foster's, you name the brand, and he's kind of familiar with them. So welcome, Mr. Tapomay.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
And
thank you so much.
Welcome, sir. And thank you for being here with us. And last but not least, would like to introduce Harri Puputti. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. He's the Vice President of Quality at Lindstrom Group. He has been with Lindstrom family for more than 15 years. He's currently based out of Helsinki, so it's early morning for him. Thank you for joining in so early in the morning. He was instrumental in driving corporate quality, sustainability, and operation excellence throughout Lindstrom Group. He brings with him a rich expertise in international quality management and global certifications and standardizations. He is, of course, a strong believer of corporate sustainability. You will see that some of it he's driving at the organization, and he's going to be talking about some of these aspects as we come to his presentation. So welcome, Mr. Harri.
Thank you, and of course, welcome from my behalf, all the audience as well.
Right. Thank you. And then just want to start with a note saying, if you've been listening to all the introductions carefully, I'm sure you're assured of a quality discussion today. So we'll get set. First of all, I'd like to invite Benz, and we'll start with a short presentation on interactions between brand image, reputation, and statutory regulations. So over to you, Benz.
Thank you. Thank you, Ramesh. I hope the screen is visible now.
Yes, it is. You might have to move to presentation mode.
Yeah, I can see now it is in presentation mode. Yes, Benz, please continue.
So thank you, Ramesh, for the introduction, and thank you, Lindstrom, for having me over, and BRCGS, of course. And thank you, Ramesh, for those kind words about the organization. It feels nice about getting it from a third party. We always believe we're the best, but somebody else saying it means a lot more. And that's a message I'll take back to the global team as well. I'm going to be talking about brand reputation and its connection with statutory guidelines, basically giving you an overview of what I think is the way on this and how it works. When it comes down to stakeholders, if this was a live seminar, I would have probably, as in face-to-face with people, I would have probably asked with a show of hands, but since we can't do that, I'll probably just go through it. That the fact that when we look at stakeholders, we generally mostly look at this one big stakeholder called the customer, who happens to be the most important thing, and honestly speaking, happens to be the one for whom we actually live and survive. But however, the challenge that comes in is that in the B2C scenario, it is always the customer who picks up the product off your shelf, and in the B2B scenario, it's the buyer who picks up your product, be it for their own brand or putting it on their retail shelves, etc. However, in doing so, we ignore a large group of other stakeholders who are employees, investors, suppliers, creditors, etc. Rather, we end up focusing on these two big ones, which is the customer and the government, which is fine, which is absolutely there, but the others are also important. And towards the end of the presentation, I'll tie in together how a lot of these categories matter when it comes down to brand reputation, etc. Let's go back to a few months ago, March of this year, we got hit by a global pandemic. So what did most of us do when COVID hit? Other than, of course, stocking up food, some of us went to the supermarket and picked up soaps and hand washes, etc. Others went looking for sanitizers, and another lot actually went and looked for toilet rolls. Honestly, toilet rolls was a very big question and a whole lot of debate globally. Within India, not so much, but globally, yes, it was. Those are the three key things that we did. On the supermarket aisle, what we saw was whenever we... somebody was typing in the background.
Mr. Rao, if you mute yourself.
Yeah.
So let's think about a time when we were shopping during the pandemic. Our basic instinct was to pick up the topmost brand that we could lay our hands on, or the second one. And if we didn't find that, then we'd probably go looking for something else as well. So we were picking up the number one, number two brands in food, soap, sanitizers, etc. To just give you how things have changed, just yesterday I was out buying sanitizer and I was very clear that I wanted the best brand. So went looking for Savlon from ITC because that's a brand that I trust. But when I looked back at my behavior a few months ago, I actually, during coronavirus time, when the whole problem was there in terms of getting sanitizers, I actually ended up buying a sanitizer that I did not know anything about. However, a quick search on the website, trying to look for it, found that having that they have a good presence, they're quite good in what they do, etc. And what then was happening was that the favorable brand reputation that I built up for Savlon over a period of time, in this case presently, and in the past, and in my past experience, that new brand that I went to, was because I had trust in them by virtue of the fact that I saw what they were doing, etc. And that's where transparency comes about. So that's something that I will, towards the end of this presentation, be talking a lot more about. But what we need to understand is that favorable brand reputation is what will keep getting your consumers back. And the aim is to get them to whatever little that they're spending, especially in these times, to spend it on you. But then the question that comes in front of us is, can brand reputation be built on just doing the bare minimum? Any one of you who answers that as a yes probably is in the business of making money and not in the business of making a brand that will last you for a long time. Because if you're just about there meeting the client requirements or the government requirements or the statutory requirements, as in this case, then you might just end up not being a valuable brand. This is an interesting diagram which talks about how organizations have come under scrutiny from what they say, but not only for what they say, but also for what they did not say. So fashion, automotive, charities, etc. were quite silent during the whole pandemic era, whereas supermarkets, healthcare and pharma, retailers, etc. were quite big, and therefore they are seeing the benefits right now, with a lot of people veering towards the ones that were vocal about what they're doing, how they're taking care of things, etc., versus the ones that were pretty much silent. So in today's age, honestly, not saying anything is also can be detrimental to your brand. And again, going back to what these were. So the question is, we need to look at new ways of reaching out to the customers. I will talk about both in this majorly in the B2B space, because that's where I've been told a lot of the participants are from. However, the question is, how do you ensure that from brand number 3 and 4, you go on to be a brand number 1? Number 1, the way to do it is show your customers, both your customers in the B2B and the B2C space, that you go beyond the bare minimum. Meeting statutory guidelines, etc., was good in the old way of working. But right now, the question is, what is it that you're doing to go beyond the bare minimum that's available? Honestly, if you don't find a product on the shelf, it's only then that you go in and look for another one when there is good availability. So the question is, how do you get into your consumer's mind to be able to be the number 1 choice? And again, like I said, this will be mostly in terms of a B2B space. The reason why I say that is because if you're a number 3 and a number 4 brand, you shouldn't be worried about why should I care about the consumer, etc. Because this is an interesting this thing that has come across from this is an IIM Lucknow study that just happened in India during COVID, where people's willingness to switch brands increased from 39 to 54%. And that is why you should probably end up building your own reputation and your brand. Somebody's asking for control. Yeah. So in the B2B space, how do you reach out to customers? The question is, you need to possibly go beyond the financial conversations that you're having with your customers. Financial conversations will definitely continue to happen, but the question is, compared to you versus another organization out there that's producing food products or other goods, etc., the question is, how do you reach beyond that particular company and be the first in front of your customers? The first and foremost thing that I would suggest in the B2B space is video showcases of your plant, manufacturing facility, etc., how you're doing, what you're doing, etc. And the thing is, you need to give confidence to the customer or your buyer that they are getting the best product from you, and because their reputation rests on what they put on the shelf. So that's number one. You could also get add-on influencers onto your board. And I don't mean Instagram influencers who go about making earlier TikToks, etc. What I mean is employees other than the sales team, get them to interact with your customers, get them to talk about. What you would be surprised is a lot of these employees are very passionate about what they do on the shop floor, and they would be able to build a better story, be able to put across better things in front of your customers. An easy way to communicate is email signatures. Put out links to what you're doing, put out links to videos or web conferences, etc., that you're doing in your email signatures so that your buyers are able to see that. But then the biggest question is, what do you do to go beyond what you're currently doing? You should be looking at, I would urge you to look at third-party certifications, both for the product, site, and employee welfare. Put your products through rigorous testing. Like I always say, don't be penny wise, pound foolish, because these are the times when you might have this urge to scrimp and scrape and cut corners, but this is not the time. In fact, I was talking to a retailer the other day, and we're being told that about they've seen a 40% increase in recalls when it comes down to their in-house brands that they're sourcing from different places. And they attribute it entirely to the COVID-19 and how suppliers were dropping the ball, etc. That is something that we shouldn't be doing. In fact, we should be going ahead and doing much more rigorous testing, etc., of both the raw materials and the finished goods. And of course, as a last resort, if something fails, then don't ship it at all, but ship lower quantities. But if you can keep the promise, that would be better, because at the end of the day, you do not want your client's reputation to be tarnished and thus you being challenged. You'd be surprised. It's a very small sourcing world out there. So people move, they talk to each other during events, conferences, etc. Once things would be normal, actually. But then there is that movement of information that actually happens. Now, when it comes down to communications, I think coming back to the point that the employee is your biggest asset. Get them onto LinkedIn, get them on talking on stuff, get them to write articles that you can post on your LinkedIn page or on your website, etc. Get your senior leadership team to start talking about things and writing about it. Because at the end of the day, if you make your senior leadership team, including your CEO, your biggest brand ambassador, then there's nothing else that you can actually ask for. Because when it comes down to that level, the message will be homogenized, the message will be overarching, and it will be at a high level. Other than that, the suggestions that I have in terms of trying to figure out your own brand is follow your buyers, specifiers, etc. on social media, and understand what they're sharing, read about it so that you're able to comment, talk about it when you're having a conversation with them. And also then you'll be in a position to share useful stuff to them. And all this is actually aimed at creating thought leadership that actually resonates with what you're saying. But then the last thing that I would want to say and sign off before Ramesh takes it forward from here is that we need to start thinking beyond compliance. The problem that we have right now, the challenge that we have right now is that we always end up thinking, how do I meet the bare minimum? The question is meeting the bare minimum enough? Can we think beyond that? And that is where we need to start thinking beyond compliance. And I'm actually thankful for Lindstrom for putting this together, and especially the topic, because the whole point of this presentation and what I'm trying to say is that we possibly need to move beyond what we've been asked to do, start thinking about the future so that we can start planning probably 5-10 years ahead. That's it, Ramesh, from my end.
Thank you, Ben. And looks like the mute is acting funny as usual. So one of the things I really liked was following your suppliers, your partners, your customers on social media. I think it's a fantastic tool to get an indication of what are they thinking, what are they liking, and I think that is super critical. They may not tell this to you in a meeting, and we probably, when we do meetings, you hardly have time to think of all that. But when you are there in social media and you see what are the kind of things they are sharing, so I think it really helps you align with their vision, and I think get them what they are looking for in the future. So, like you said, plan ahead, plan for the long term, not just compliance. Communication was the other thing, saying you absolutely need to communicate. So you need to tell your customers what you promise, and of course, you have to deliver on that promise. You cannot just keep making promises and running away from them. So it's important you communicate the promise that you make to your customers and deliver on that. Benz, you were saying something?
No, nothing. I was just agreeing with what you're saying.
So when we started, I put in a simple number, and we've seen that food brands have actually grown in terms of product sales. So we've seen that branded products are definitely getting picked up higher than unbranded, or where the consumer does not trust the brand. So do you think consumers perceive them to be more safe? Why do you think this happens?
So I think it's a factor of the reputation that they've built. Now, these guys have spent a lot of time, these bigger brands have invested in building their reputation, ensuring that their sites are much better than what the statutory guidelines are, building better oversight, building in better quality and certifications into their whole work progress, workplace. So that essentially helps build that brand recognition, and it is that brand recognition that goes ahead. It wouldn't be incorrect of me to say that the smaller brands haven't benefited. Honestly, when COVID hit, the bigger brands went out of production, or they weren't there on the shelves due to certain reasons, whatever they were. But the smaller brands, actually, the ones that were better were picked up. Like I still know of people who go to our nearby atta mill and pick up atta from there because they perceive that to be better. Because they are, honestly, it's the reputation that particular person has built, and that's what this is all about.
Cool. So I think what we're saying is that, yes, brands do make a difference. So I think it's kind of restating that. And there's two aspects to it. So one is the brand, and then the overall consumer awareness. We've seen in the work that we do, so suddenly the companies have woken up to, we do a lot of package and label reviews for food companies. And in that we see suddenly everybody is realizing the importance of putting things in on their package and how they communicate and all of that. So how much do you think is an outcome of an increased consumer awareness?
I think this is the Indian consumer is definitely much more aware, and I would say, but we need to always look at it from the urban and the rural divide, because they're totally different. But if I look at the urban consumer, whom I'm probably more aware of right now, there is definitely a much better increase. FSSAI needs to be given full marks for doing the hard work that they've been doing to promote knowledge among the consumers about what good food looks like, etc. However, increased internet penetration, education, social media, etc. have helped. I do remember this incident from while I was shopping maybe a year or year and a half back, where there was this middle-aged couple who were comparing the various conflict brands that are available. And what they were doing is essentially turning it around and reading the nutritional fact table and comparing, stating that, well, the one that says added sugar has just a little bit more sugar than the one that doesn't. So that's the kind of education that's improving. Are we there yet? No is the answer. We're definitely not there yet. The rural market is something that needs to be made more aware of, but we are getting there. Ramesh.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, my mute, I don't know. I think I've got to buy a new laptop.
Yeah.
So I think it's good to see that the consumer is finally waking up. And like you said, FSSAI has done fantastic kind of communication around COVID. I know they started a special training. We ran that for thousands of people to get them aware about the fact that food is not a carrier. So it was great to see a government regulator kind of turn around so quickly and put something together. So that is really, really great. And I think the consumers have sort of started understanding what are the dangers they are running into, right? So we have some stats, I know, in some of the presentations, what Mr. Tapomay will share, but we do lose a lot of productivity because of that. And I think it's good that the consumers are understanding that fact and choosing sensibly. So I think this should overall help the brands kind of set up themselves better. So with that, we will move on to the next session or next part of this session, and would like to invite Tapomay Saha. So he's a producer and he's the one creating those brands. So we'd like to hear from him about what it takes to deliver on the promise on quality, safety, and hygiene. He's, of course, the head of quality at Dabur. There's nobody who doesn't know Dabur. So over to you, Tapomay.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Ramesh. So first, let me share and then I'll speak. Let me see whether.
You can see the presentation.
You are able to see the presentation?
Yeah, you just need to put them into a presentation mode.
Yeah, and so make it full screen. Yeah.
Is it okay now?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so welcome to the little technical session of quality, safety, and hygiene. Before I go, I would like to give my special thanks to Lindstrom for this opportunity. Also, my thanks for all the participants, Mr. Harri, Puputti, and also Mr. Benz Thomas and other dignitaries, whoever is there. And thank you all. I start my presentation. Okay, so give me a moment. Yeah, so this is a very, interesting topic of quality, safety, and hygiene. I thought, let me take you through all these, the live, there is a, this snow recall, product recall process, which is a real-time product recall. I would just like to take you through what has exactly happened in close to 16 days time. This is one of the largest dairy brand of Japan. It's a $12 billion company. And then, see, 27th of June, there are some issues. And finally, on 13th of June, 21 plants were shut down. The entire company got collapsed. There are 211 people got suffered because of food poisoning. There are 14,000 victims. And the primary reason of that is the poor sanitation. So I'm just trying to create a background that, how this quality, safety, and hygiene is really important for all of us and for all industries. And few of the disturbing numbers I would like to, these are numbers of, WHO, where it says that 600 million people get ill after eating contaminated food. and the disturbing numbers are 4.2 lakh people dies every year. 1.2 lakh people dies every year. This is in the children's category, and is a global loss of 110 billion USD. Some background noise. Mr. Abhay. Yeah, so if you see that, 50% of the cases are due to diarrhea. Yeah, can I start?
Yes,
Yes,
please
sir,
go
please.
ahead.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I just also, just would like to talk about what are the short-term and long-term impact. In short-term, normally we see there's vomiting, nausea, diarrhea, and finally in the long-term we have the cancer, maybe the liver, kidney failure, paralysis, many other, and brain and mental disorder. These are the problem happens, and all are related to quality, safety, and hygiene. Finally, which are the causative organisms responsible for this? So you see, most of the people who are, participating, these, are well aware of. However, these are the 8 important pathogens which, create a hell lot of issues when we eat contaminated food. It could be Salmonella, Campylobacter, E. coli, Listeria, Vibrio cholerae, Clostridium, hepatitis, and there are food sources also which I'm not really going through. So finally, we need to ensure that safe food is actually delivered to our valued consumer. So because consumers' expectation is to have safer food, and for that, I think the food safety management system umbrella, and where I would like to focus on the 3 pillars. And where these HACCP, TACCP, and HACCP, even I believe everybody is aware of these 3 important pillars. But I will take you through the next slide so that it would be more elaborative. So when we talk about the HACCP, it is a science-based approach. It focuses on the hazards, and it also with the objective of the prevent unintentional or accidental adulterations. Similarly, when you talk about the threat, TACCP, it focuses on the threat assessment. This is also behaviorally or ideologically motivated to cause harm to our consumer. If I give some example, all of you know that milk is a product where the shelf life of the product is very less, and there is a very high chances of spoilage. And hence, to manage, if in case of there are some spoilage, the suppliers do add some detergents and bring the pH to neutral, and again supply to the organizations. So this is a one kind of threat, and maybe subsequently you can see the HACCP is a vulnerability assessment, where there are people who are trying to do an intentional adulterations, and which is economically motivated to gain economic or financial gains. That's the fundamentals of the HACCP. And here also we can have some example of maybe in the edible oil industry, normally there is always when mustard oil is 130 rupees a liter, and somebody adds something, and then obviously they will try to add something else which is cheaper in cost, and they still supply. And where HACCP actually is applicable, and this is part and parcel of FSSC 22000. But these 3 important pillars are very, very important for food industry, and all food organizations, and adherence should be there in this. Okay, so I will take these principles, HACCP principle, the 7 principles. I am really not going through these principles because, all experienced people are sitting over there. But however, I will be talking about something on is food safety, HACCP, and it is sitting on the foundation of the prerequisites. And I think the people are aware of earlier it was PAS 220, then subsequently it came into food safety management system was separate, then the PRP was separate, then there is a marching happened. So right now today this FSSC 22000 is having the PRPs also part and integrated part of the standards. But however, for a right food safety in the organization, we need to have the PRP in place and also PRPs in place. Okay, so I will further take you through. Look at this food safety, and it is sitting on the entire foundation of PRPs. I will just name few of them. You talk about the water quality, you talk about GMP, you talk about training, formulation, sanitation, laboratory tests. These all are PRPs, traceability, supplier approval. Unless these PRPs foundations are correct, your entire food safety management system or HACCP cannot be. So hence we need to really focus. We actually talk a little bigger subject, but we forget these PRPs. We cannot forget PRPs. It is very, very important topic. Now, when we talk about the hygiene and sanitation, there are 3 stages where we cover the personal premises and equipment and apparatus. At the personal level, you can see the picture, you can understand the headgear, mask, aprons, clothing, in the shoes, hand gloves, everything is important for the food handlers. And similarly, when you talk about the premises, this is a 6-stage process. Even we should have a, routine cleaning of our organization or premises. Not only the equipment cleaning, we need to focus on the premises cleaning once a week or once in 15 days, something, as per the organization requirement, we need to really do it. Okay, so it's a 6-step process: pre-cleaning, washing, rinsing, disinfection, and finally, drying. And then equipment. Subsequently, you have the equipment and apparatus cleaning, where these basics of time, temperature, strength, and turbulence. This 4T is very important, but I'll take you through more detail of this cleaning and sanitation in subsequent slides. I'll talk about again hygiene and sanitation on the personal level. Even in the COVID scenario, every day we talk about hand washing, and now people are more really focused. It should be not only done by the food handlers at the factory or the organization, it should be done at home also. It should be practiced at home. But in parallel, you have few other important personal hygiene practices, so I'm not really going through, but hand washing plays a very, very vital role. I will also quickly take you through these 8-stage processes where you need to, very important to have a palm to palm cleaning between the fingers, back of the hands, base of the thumbs, back of the fingers, fingernails, reached and rinse and wipe and dry. These are important. We all do follow. But I'm sure, we'll further strengthen everyone who have seen these, everyone will strengthen it further, even at home. I'll talk about this, GMP, GSP, we talk on a day-to-day basis, but it is actually regulations. It's a mandate of FSSI. Even in you look at FSSI toxins Schedule 4, and all the Drugs and Cosmetics Act, it is there in the Ayush also, Pharma also, homeopathy also, cosmetics also, medicinal also. Well, everywhere these regulations are there, and whenever some inspection happens, they do focus on these basic of GMP and GSP practices. And this is well defined also in all the schedules. Okay, so I will also take you through, how to ensure a very effective cleaning and sanitation process, which are the important factors. So if you look at that, here even the cleaning agent plays an important role. Sanitation frequency plays an important role. You have 7T and 4As, and these I will take you through in subsequent slides. Even the product, what type of product? Is it a milk product, or is it a dry mixed products? Or what is the equipment design and surface? It is also important when the equipment or a processing line instead of equipment designing, there's somebody who has the right knowledge about the GMP and GMP practices. Sanitary design also plays a very important role. And finally, the types of cleaning. I'll again talk about a few of the facts and figures and on the microbiological growth. In case of ineffective cleaning and sanitation, you see that normally in the past 4 to 5 hours, the numbers grows in, it becomes double in 10 to 20 minutes. every 10 to 20 minutes, the number is becoming double. And then in 6 to 9 hours cycle, what happens? The bacterial growth happens in a 10 logarithmic scale. And they see the few of the facts. 7 hours, it becomes 2 million. 8 hours, it becomes 17 million. 9 hours, it becomes 100. So how important this safety, hygiene, quality, and this is a very, very important subject. People should not take it lightly. People really should focus to implement right system and practices so that, we actually deliver right quality product to our valued consumers. As I spoken to you that 70 and 4 is this. I am going to take around 1.5 minutes in this particular slide. I am starting from the bottom. Give me a moment. I'll use my pointer. You can see the title. This is nothing but strain. This is 71 of the T. The strain of the detergent solution plays an important role. The turbulence of the solution, which is minimum, should be 1.5 meter per second. This gives a proper mechanical aberration to your inside pipeline, which is not seen by us. Unless this kind of turbulence is there, your cleaning will not be effective. Even if you see the T connections, there should not be any dead ends. Where while you have a T connections, the dead ends cannot be there. If you have a dead ends, which is more than 1 D, you will have ineffective cleaning. There should be right practices for the training program so that people understand this cleaning and sanitation. This is very, very vital in the food and healthcare industry. And then finally, the temperature of the solution. As we all know, the very basic fundamentals, hot water sanitation. If you are doing for 80 degrees centigrade, it should be minimum 20 minutes. And if it is 5 degrees centigrade, you can reduce to 15 minutes. The basic fundamentals. Even the return temperature cannot be less than 75. When it is coming back to the CAP kitchen, it cannot be less than 75 degrees centigrade. And these are few of the important factors. And then subsequently time, whether my hot water sanitation, what I just now said, 20 minutes, 15 minutes, these are called time temperature combination. And finally, the technology plays a very important role. The design of the CAP kitchen also plays a very important role. And you can see on the left-hand side, I have shown the pictures of the, what are the types of spray balls. It also plays an important role. What are the types of valves used in the entire CAP kitchen also plays a very important role. Is there when you have a 3-way valves or, multiple, ports are there. So what kind of valves you are using so that there is no cross-contamination? Even it can happen in one line, the product is passing, another line, the CAP solution is passing, but still you don't have any cross-contamination. So you have to go that kind of accuracy and precision. And finally, I think we have spoken on this, most of the things I have covered. Finally, COVID-19 and food safety. What consumers exactly are expecting? They expect enhanced cleaning and safety measures from manufacturers, and which, when it happens, actually the brand credibility, trust, and the confidence building, everything happens when you have the right systems and practices. Consumers are more inclined towards health products. Mr. Benz has also spoken, lifting a right brand, because people understand, the right companies, right organizations, they follow the right practices, right? So then finally, what is the way out? The right safe practices to be adopted and adhered. A review of the cleaning and sanitation procedures. It's not that I have, commissioned a plant and, finally I forget and finally I don't think about, about these. It should be reviewed at a timely cycle, periodically it should be reviewed whether everything is perfect or not, and build credibility and trust among the consumer by following that, the quality, safety, and hygiene practices. Finally, I would like to say again, FSSAI has issued a guidance document on food safety and hygiene and safety guidelines. I request, hope everybody is following. I request every food organizations to adhere this. And this is very, very important, even for the, brand credibility, trust, etc. And the few of the other, the 3-step strategy, which is also highlighted by which is also highlighted, by MHA on these, which are not there in the basic GMP and GHP practices. You can see the thermal screening, self-declaration, PPs. These are very well adapted in Dabur. I'm sure it is adapted on all organizations, and then finally social distancing and the cleaning and sanitation. I'll also take you through of the cleaning and sanitation. A few of the concepts, maybe there is some clarity, may not be there, but this is very well depicted in the guidance document. Yeah, so there are three things. One is cleaning and disinfection. How do I do the fumigation, and which are the other chemicals which can be used, and what is the frequency? When you look at the cleaning and disinfections, the FSSI guidance document talks about 1% sodium hypochlorite solution should be used. And what is the methodology? The mopping. And high touch points where people are touching very frequently the machine parts, etc., or stainless steel parts, which should be 70% IPA is the best option. And when you talk about the fumigation, and in case of fumigation, you can see that we all know that, the hydrogen peroxide, solve a very good, and another good important part, hydrogen peroxide with silver nitrate, there are many brands available, but it has a germicidal effect up to 1 week. So prima facie, every week there should be a sanitation drive during this COVID period by all organizations, so that to ensure that everybody is safe, people are safe, your products are safe, and at the end of the day we are delivering a right quality product to our valued consumer. And finally, FSSI guidance document also given few of the other chemicals, though I'm not going through, but they have also given the ratio, what is how many parts in how many parts of water to be used. So this gives a very good clarity that both are the chemicals to be used by the industries. And finally, this is the 6-stage summary document on quality, safety, and hygiene, where I just tabulated it, to simplify that COVID-19 practices very, very plays an important role. GMP PRP is a foundation. HACCP, TACCP, and VASAP is the most critical part of the food safety management process. Cleaning of place and cleaning in place is also a vital role it plays for ensuring and preventing, eliminating the microorganisms, and cleaning premises, fumigation, which we have just spoken, product recall, and the mock recall. Even the mock recall plays a very important role. I have a procedure SOP in place, but I don't practice it. And then when there is a real problem, then I will have a problem like snow. And then you will have a problem of misleading information, different people talking different subjects, different people, different types of talks. So all those problems happens. And I think this is my last slide. And Mr. Ramesh, thank you so much. And over to you.
Thank you, sir. I think you couldn't have covered so much in 15, 17 minutes. We typically do like one full day workshop or a 2 full day workshop just to talk about HACCP. And you covered HACCP, VASAP, everything in like 15 minutes. So I hope everybody was listening very, very carefully. I think every word that you mentioned has a 15-minute to understanding it. So please, I would request everyone that.
Thank you so much. You are one of the guru. Thank you so much.
So just to follow on question.
Yeah.
So today, when brand advertisement and positioning is revolving around consumer health and safety, you talked about it a little bit. Can you see food safety management systems helping in achieving consumer confidence? So is it sort of, if I were to rephrase, like health, safety, and nutrition is one aspect, and then there is FSMS we talk about. So you want to do a correlation between the two?
Yeah, see, basically, the most fundamental objective of food safety is, of course, to ensure and deliver safe food to our consumer. And consumer confidence is an important goal on its own right. Yes, that is the whole reason. So far we are trying to build the consumer confidence only, and that is what the brand, that is the trust and credibility. So what consumer wants? They want, mind of peace, when they consume, the products, whether they or their family, they want that, the safe products are consumed. And most of the consumers do understand there is a, they know food products, no healthcare products is, risk free, but they do expect everybody involved in the supply chain, from, processing to transportation to selling, this everybody is doing the reasonably right job to ensure the product is safe. And FSMS is one of the key pillar in bringing this peace of mind for our consumers. Food safety management system eliminate or reduce the hazard in each stage from farm to fork. And what is the consumer do expect from us, right? And in food safety management systems, it truly gives credibility to the organization that they're doing everything to produce quality product. And thus helps in achieving the consumer confidence. And not only that, I also believe that, organizations around the world, they also do acknowledge it.
Right. No, so I think that we've definitely seen. If you are a certified or if you have an effective system, your partners see a lot of confidence in you, your consumers see a lot of confidence in you. And then, of course, there is also the branding labeling aspect, where if you are a certified organization, you can communicate that through your label, saying we are a certified organization, and that will help communicate that with them. And you talked briefly about the whole supply chain and the system. So the follow-on question on that would be the fact that the whole product depends not just on you. The supply chain is very, very complex, right? So it also depends on the suppliers and what they are doing and how you are monitoring them. So what kind of a control systems do you think you put in place, and how critical do you think these are for your suppliers and all of your partners?
Yeah, so I'll just tell
briefly,
you,
because we are already running late.
No issues. Typically, what at Dabur, I have worked in, you have already mentioned in various organizations. What we follow, typically, we have a very systematic, couple of 10 to 12 pages document for every supplier, where from we buy raw material, ingredient, etc. And then we do a basically online quality evaluation. That is the first stage. Okay, so in the online quality evaluation, these are very well documented questions, and you need to answer. And if you say no, you have to give a lot of objective evidence why it is no, etc., etc. And then subsequently, from this 8 or 10 or 12 page document, we find out what are the food safety gaps, what are the quality gaps. We do communicate to them that we also look for the addressal plan from the vendors, and subsequently the proper approval of each and every vendor happens. And if required, depending on the sensitivity of the product, or there are many seasonal products, we physically do visit them. For example, for a flavor supplier, we do not visit them. But if it is a pulp manufacturers or something else, yes, we do visit them. We not only do a online corporate quality evaluation, we also do a physical assessment subsequently. The finally basis on their addressal, which they have told previously, and finally based on their action plan, we give the approval, either a final approval or a conditional approval or a partial approvals. This is the methodology we do follow. At the end of the day, it is very, very important that if you have a garbage in, your garbage out. How good is your process? How good is your cleaning and sanitation? How good is your hygiene practices? But if your input material is not good, everything is in a toss. So we give a very high impetus on it, and not only we, I'm sure all good branded companies, everybody gives similar focus on that. I hope I could answer your query.
Absolutely. And I think we can also vouch for your check. And so we work with some of your suppliers, and we've seen your checklist. So we can say that it is pretty rigorous. And we try our best to make sure that folks are doing this. And an earlier point on that was on designing for food safety. I think that is something that in India we still have to start looking at. So I think those are some of the critical things that if there are any suppliers, partners sitting around, then I think those are the critical things we should take care of. And while we are on the topic of suppliers and the processes, I would like to bring in Harri. In the current times, hygiene has been once again taken the top spot. So people had forgotten about things, but it's been a good reminder. And let's hear from him on what it takes to ensure business continuity when everyone is worried. Harri?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Naresh and all the participants. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ramesh. And from my behalf, also once again, welcome all the participants. It was very good to have the presentations given by Tapomay and Mr. Benz as well. So that this flow of this seminar is very good to run. And once again, having a Friday afternoon there in Asia, I tried to be clear enough and not type of taking too much of your valuable time, so that you can also start to go preparations on your weekend and maybe some family events with the safe food as well with your loved ones. Sorry, I just want to open my presentation, and I hope that you can see the presentation. And then I will put it also in the presentation mode. Yes, now it's there. I think that during these previous presentations, the key topic also for supplier who is working in a business-to-business environment is to understand what is the consumer behavior there, which is driving the food industry business. And then of course, our key topic is not only type of being a B2B company working with our direct customers, but really type of being able to give the answers and give the support to our direct customers for supporting their customers, and in the end of the day, supporting the need of consumers who are taking the healthy food for their families, for their children, for their babies. Then the other topic which was nicely presented in the earlier presentations was that yes, there are very good standards in the food industry. Of course, in our own industry, there are type of industry-specific standards as well. And then the key topic in our work is to be type of a glue between, meaning that even we have our nice own standards in our own industry, that's nothing to do if we are not able to listen our customers carefully and then understand what are the requirements set by our customers, and then providing the answers, not type of giving only a number of a standard which we are applying, but really understanding what are the key topics which customers are asking from us, and then supporting with our good processes the real customer need. When we are speaking about the textile rental service, which is supporting the food safety in food producing industry, in Tapomay's presentation, there was this nice picture about the wearing the right clothes, wearing the right PPE, and then of course our task or our industry task is to make sure that the textiles which are delivered to food producing factories, they are hygienic, and your people really can feel that, hey, with the garments delivered by the textile rental companies, we can be safe. We can be sure that our process is safe, meaning that you can be sure there is no biocontamination from the textiles. We are not delivering textiles which are type of a risk for foreign particles for food processes. And then looking for the presentation where we had this HACCP pyramid, you can clearly see that these principles, the bricks in the pyramid, they are very important in this supplier/manufacturer cooperation, meaning that when the food factories are making the supplier approvals, making the supplier audits, we need to have the answers for the specific needs which are set by the industry, which are set actually by the requirements set by the consumers in the end of the day. We need to be able to have the traceability there. We need to have, for example, the pest control, foreign particles, and our product design in place, type of a bricks in the HACCP pyramid. Then, of course, when we are speaking about the infection control mechanism and health and safety, so that really type of these practices, these technical procedures, they are a vital part. But then, of course, we are speaking about the management. We are speaking about leading the behavior of our own people in every single process step. So that I believe that Tapomay also you mentioned how to make the training and how to make type of a discipline that, hey, these are the principles which we are following, and our task as managers, quality assurance people, is to make our internal audits and really ensure that our people are also behaving as we are teaching. So these process controls, internal audits, external audits, and third-party assessments, they are type of tools for making sure that this behavior is in place. I believe that with this audience, people coming from the food industry, this slide is type of self-evident, so that clean does not equal to hygienic. So that if I'm type of washing only my shirt and visibly it is white and clean, it doesn't equal to hygienic. And that's the reason why we need to apply the highest standards in our processes. And in our industry, we are speaking about the hygiene standards, which are type of a microbiological standards within the laundries. And really, this European norm EN 14065 is having same type of principles, so same basic principles as we have in ISO 22000 for the food industry, or as we have in the HACCP. The same principles are included into this industrial washing hygiene standard. It is based on risk analysis, it is based on microbiological quality, and then it is also based on preventing the cross-contamination between the contaminated particles and the clean garments. And then of course, type of a general ISO 9000 certification, meaning that the quality management system is there, and nowadays more and more the environmental certifications, they are very important, so that this total sustainability of our operations is built in within our management system. I want to underline here that even we might internally speak very enthusiastic about our own industry standards, but the key point is when we are looking deep in the eyes of our customers, we need to listen to the customer, we need to carefully listen what is the need of the customer, what is the requirement of the customer, and then be able to translate our internal standard procedures as an understandable and acceptable way to our customers, so that this trust will be built on of our understanding and mutual understanding that this is the hygiene level which the customers are requiring from textile service company. A short brief of our process, so that most of these internal procedures, they are implemented in our laundry facilities, but whenever we are speaking about these technical questions related to washing procedures or sanitation practices which we have in our laundry facilities, they also they are valid in our delivery service operations, and then of course in every step of this process it is important that we are taking care that our people are behaving accordingly. Maybe the main point here is that in different phases of our processes, when we are receiving the dirty garments to our laundry, we are really type of keeping separately the soiled garments and the clean garments, so that the laundry facility, laundry layout is built up in a manner that in one door and in one area we are handling the dirty garments, and then after the washing only the clean garments are handled in the area where they are packed and ready for the shipment to customers. And then in case there are some hazardous contamination coming together with the dirty garments, we are separating these contaminated garments in our soil sorting area already, meaning that we are not risking our people to get any infections or any other hazardous substances which might come together with the so-called infected or hazardous garments. Then the washing process has the same principle as in the previous presentation. We learned that the time, the temperature, the detergents, this is the circle which we are utilizing, making sure that the washing is type of killing all the microbes. After the washing, we are keeping the touching only with the clean hands, with the right PPE, gloves on, the clean garments, packing the textiles in the bags and hooded for the trolleys, so that during the delivery to our customers, we are keeping also the clean and dirty garments separated. And basically, it is such simple as I described. And then maybe a couple of points here to show. So everything starts from the customer promise. We need to understand why the food safety is important, translate it into our hygiene requirements, cleanliness requirements, then also understand that infection control of our people is very important as well. And by translating these food safety requirements to our practices, we are able to provide the solution for the customer. Then within our own operations, we are following strictly the standards and the management system, which is developed for our industry. And really making sure that the washing process is coordinated, it is validated, and we are following up. And then by behaving according the strict instructions, we are avoiding and preventing the biocontamination after washing processes. And all these personal hygiene instructions for our own people are important, and this hand washing practices, PPE wearing practices, garment wearing practices, they are the key topics there to keep up the hygiene and clean conditions in our laundry processes. Maybe I'm not going going deeper to this washing process principles. I believe it was very nicely already presented the physical and chemothermal principles in the previous presentation, and really then the other topic is that we have validation and control practices which are defined in our management system. We need to keep up the weekly, every second month, and different type of frequencies of our inspection controls, and really make sure that this is happening in each and every unit of ours. So that this is type of ensuring our capabilities to provide clean and hygiene garments to our customers. Then maybe a couple of slides and couple of thoughts related to COVID-19. When COVID-19 pandemic started to spread in different countries, we had some type of a privilege to be an operator which was operating also in Chinese markets, meaning that when we are operating in different continents and 23 different countries, the pandemic was spreading in different waves in different countries. And everybody knows, of course, that the China was first country to get the hit. And then afterwards, I would say that the strict control of the Chinese government officers was afterwards very helpful for us, because showing the attitude of reacting to the problem with the powerful actions set by the government, then also a company working with this industry, we were type of in a phase that with the government officials, we were developing our reaction plan, first locally in China, but after the first week, we realized that this will be a case which we need to prepare in every single business unit of our operations globally, having some 80 different business units, and then we were able to take the actions accordingly. There were a couple of things which we already were prepared years and years back. The basic biocontamination and risk assessment principles, they have been already in our management system. And then when we started to take our papers on the table, we realized that, hey, this is the question about these same basic principles which we have been operating according to. And then, of course, we needed to double check that this type of validation reports, are they valid not only for generally for the microbes in the laboratories, but then also we tested with the several German laboratories that are our washing processes, which we are implementing in each of our laundry units, in each of our operating countries. Are they really valid for the novel kind of coronaviruses as well? And that's the topic we made, and this basic process was type of adjusted for the viruses as well. Then the other thing which we found out that as the hygiene requirement is some type of a key topic for providing the textile services to different industries, and as the awareness of the hygiene was lifted within our customers, within the marketplace, within the consumers, we were also able to react by setting up a new reusable face mask service for our customers. So that in this type of crisis situation, it is very important that you are able to react fast, and you are also able to see if there are any type of opportunities in the marketplace. And then you should put your best efforts to develop a service which is supporting your general message at the same time. And then of course, with these activities, we are prepared better to this type of a pandemic situation, and then willing to go forward. Then still a couple of slides. This is a very nice example what type of actions in our operations are taken. And Mr. Manas was kindly supporting me to build up this presentation. And these pictures in this slide, they are from different locations from our Indian business units. So actually, in this left-hand side corner, upper corner, every morning when people are coming to workplace, we are having a short health check. We have our daily safety briefings for the staff who is working. We have been updating our workwear instruction, meaning that we are putting more PPE and requiring people to wear gloves and goggles during the work, and then also face masks in the places where the risk is seen. We are giving more strict instructions for our delivery service representatives, meaning that it is our reputation, it is our brand awareness, it is our message that we are taking seriously this threat which is around every corner. We are wearing the right PPE. We are showing that our behavior, our workloads is something that we are prepared we are preventing the virus to spread. Then also we are making the regular sanitation for our delivery vans. We are making the regular sanitation for our production facilities. So these are the examples, how have we reacted. And then as a last slide, this is also, I'm very grateful for my Indian colleagues. The Indian management team made a local decision that all the Indian units of Lindström India are assessed additionally in this so-called MyCare DNV assessment method. What is it is type of a combination of risk management, infection control, health and safety, quality, and business continuity readiness assessment. And that was done also in each of the type of a nationwide. In India, there was taken 6 service centers out of 12 where this third party took a sample and made an inspection and assessment of our procedures. And now after this assessment, we are proud to use this MyCare certification or accreditation logo for our brand communication. So these were the topics which I was willing to share with you today in this Friday afternoon webinar. And moving back to Ramesh.
Thank you, Harri. Who thought that washing your clothes could be such a complex exercise? So I think this is very insightful. It should give everybody a lot of confidence about how things can be done systematically and properly to make sure that you don't take part in creating a problem, but creating a solution instead. And garments are kind of the first barrier, as we call it. The human body carries a lot of germs by itself. All healthy humans carry Staphylococcus aureus. So your dress is your first mode or barrier of preventing contamination. The other way also happens. It is also a protective equipment for the employees themselves. And as Harri talked about, from moving contamination from one place to another, I think garments play an important role. So it's really, really important that processes like this are in place. I'm sure you answered this question, but I want to kind of reiterating this question, saying so that they have no doubts in their mind. So the question is, you can say that the laundered garments are safe? Are they COVID-free? And how can you be sure?
Okay, yeah, so I would say that laundered garments, they are safe. And then, of course, type of as in the previous presentation, there is no evidence that that a single person had got a COVID infection from eating a food, and there is no evidence that a single person has got COVID infection from a garment. So that it is known that it's type of aerosol spreading, the mechanism of COVID infection, and then I would say that yes, it is safe to wear garments, it is safe to eat food, and the most important is your personal behavior.
Thank you. I think that's a good reiteration, and I know we've exceeded our time a little bit, but I will take the liberty of extending it by a few more minutes. Looking at the questions that are coming in. So the first one I think has been answered. It was from Anirban Ghosh, who said opportunity of COVID-19 contamination wide food. And Harri just said that there have been no cases of food being a carrier. And that's also been the FSSAI official stance, saying food is really not a carrier of COVID. There have been some news here and there, but essentially it's not proved to be a carrier. The next question that I have is from Mr. Saurabh, and he says, as per the current scenario in India, consumer focus is towards health, nutrition, and safe food for consumption. We talked about it a little bit. Big players focus on this a lot. However, small business owners focus in saving operational cost by cutting cost on quality, and thus big players are forced to drive efficiency to cover for the cost competitiveness. In this race, quality and safety is always seen with the eyes of cost, always as under pressure. What do you suggest food professionals for facing this challenge? So it's a manufacturer kind of a question. So I'd like to put it to Tapomay. You want to answer that?
Thanks, Ramesh. I'll respond to this question. Yes, Saurabh, we do agree with you. These kind of challenges where third party is actually delivering at a much lower cost. Even I do face this problem. It's not you. Even a lot of people do face problem, but there are methodical approaches. How to really handle it. I'll just talk about that. So whenever we actually, somebody talks about cost reduction, etc. So there are a couple of things. We need to really we need to follow a data-driven approach. Number one, we should talk about the cost of poor quality. We should talk about the process capability, and then finally say that your productivity enhances. Once your productivity enhances, your quality also enhances, and thereby reduction of cost. But this takes a hell lot of effort you need to take. Because why I started with data driven, you need to maybe going in your process and see that what is the looking at your SPC, CP, CPK values, how really the cost reduction would happen. A longer run, I will promise you, in longer run you will feel it. But in a short term, you may have some challenges and fights with your management. But at the end of the day, the management also understands, no, whatever gentleman is talking, the quality guy is talking is correct. But there could be some interim challenges. But once you have a data-driven approach, system-driven approach, once you talk with the data, no one can hide. That's what my, because many times I see people talk very subjective. When you talk subjective, then you won't be able to support. Then probably you will have to push back. I hope I have clarified his response.
Sure. I'm sure he can take it from here. So, and I don't think he would disagree with that. So yeah, we got an acknowledgement saying, yeah, thanks. We do have some more questions, but in the interest of time, I will not proceed further because I know we promised we'll finish it at 4:15, but we are ahead, way past our time. So I think we will kind of wrap it up now. So first of all, I think I'd like to thank all the panelists. So it was fantastic having you here. Thank you for taking the time out. Benz and Tanmay and then Harri. Also to all the participants who patiently went through the session without freaking out, even after looking at WhatsApp, PASAP, and HASAP. And I think it was a good discussion on how building a good kind of a brand requires a good trust that you need to build. Okay, so there is a request from Supriya saying, can we have the camera on for everybody? So I'll keep speaking as you turn on your cameras.
And Ramesh, that we will answer all those questions asked on the chat box through email. We will send them the mail. I will try to answer those questions. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I think that is great. So if you sent in a question and you did not hear the reply, don't get disappointed. You will hear it on email, and the email will also contain a link to download the presentations from today. So you can go over them at leisure. Of course, we are all on social media, so you can connect back with us on LinkedIn. So that will be a good way to connect. Also, there is Facebook and then other channels. So yeah, I would highly encourage you to connect with everybody. It's been a privilege being part of this conversation on food safety. That's something that very, very passionate about. And it is good to see so many people interested in understanding all the roles of how you can manage food safety. So thank you once again to the audience and to the panelists for the time, the organizing team. Not I only spoke, but the work was done by a huge set of team behind at the background. It takes a lot of effort to put something like this together. So thank you, Lindstrom, for doing this and creating this platform and inviting me for being here. With that, I'd like to wrap up. So you guys have a good evening and wish you safe times ahead. Supriya, you want to add anything else?
Once again, thank you, panelists, and thank you, Mr. Ramesh. Have a good evening and a good weekend. Bye.
Yeah, thank you all. Thank you all. Bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye.
And please